Welcome to Real Talk with Gene Price. One of the things I said last year when I had the stroke, it taught me some things. One of the things I said was, I remember feeling so afraid, and I remember asking a question, who said that I wasn't supposed to be afraid? And one of the things that it taught me here a year later, my trust in God has increased so much, and it taught me to appreciate being here because I didn't have to be here. I just heard on yesterday the news of somebody that's in a coma with a stroke, and I thought about myself, like, who am I that I'm still here, to be a voice for God, to be able to talk about things. And now in 2021, I really learned that life is so precious. It's not about things. I could go out right now, do what I want, buy what I want, travel the world. But you know what I choose to do? I choose to serve God, to work Real Talk and do the things that I like to do. Because it's really not about things. And you really learn the value of life is truly being here. That's important. Welcome to Real Talk. I am so glad that you tuned in this evening. Listen, we have a great show that's in store today. We are going to be celebrating Veterans Day. We have a wonderful guest with us. We want to take this time to thank you for your support. Every show always shows and proves that there's always someone out there that enjoy what we speak about, what we come up with, and we're grateful for those topics. And as a way of suggestion, if you have a topic that you would like us to talk about, shoot something in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And you don't want to miss. Remember last year, 2020, even during the pandemic, we did Gene's favorite things. We have that coming back again this year, and you don't want to miss out. Listen, I have a lot of surprises. I love surprising people, but Gene's favorite things will be coming back during the holiday season. So we're preparing for that, and you want to be prepared for that as well. We want you to comment. We want you to like. We want you to share what we are talking about on Real Talk. Real topics, real issues, things that people are facing in their everyday life. And somehow or another, it's always about the message. And people tend to be blessed when they understand that somebody else is going through what you might be going through. And that's what Real Talk is all about. So tonight, I want to welcome my guests to the show. We again are talking about what it's like to be a veteran. We want to honor the veterans that have served in this country. Some have lost their lives. Some have gone through traumas. Some have come out of the service and they're struggling. So we want to honor them today for just putting their lives on the line. For guess who? For us. So tonight, I want to welcome to the show on Real Talk, Stephanie Charles. Stephanie, join us tonight on Real Talk.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing great. Stephanie, thank you again. First, we want to thank you for serving. It is such an honor and a privilege to have someone on the show that took time out of their life to be a veteran and to serve our country. So we want to thank you for that and honor you for that. But also thank you tonight for being on Real Talk. Why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I am Stephanie Charles, A for Alexandra. I try to go by that, but I'm a Army veteran from 2010. I enlisted when I was only 21. I yeah. It seems so far back now. I'm 32, but feels like so far back. But I enlisted when I was in my freshman year of college only because I didn't have the means to pay for school. I wasn't living at home and I was just trying to figure out life at the time. And I thought going to the military was the answer. They say if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And boy, was he sitting back laughing.
Wow.
Like, listen, this is not what I want for you. But it actually gave me the outline, I guess, sort of to say, for what my next step in life would be, because I came out with a medical discharge. I didn't even complete my service. I came out with a medical discharge. But since 2010, I want to say up until about 2017, all I did was work with veterans.
Okay, that's beautiful. So let me just chime in here for a second, Stephanie. And again, we thank you for being on Real Talk. And you talked about what motivated you was your education.
Yes.
So can we just talk about that? Because you emphasized tonight the word thought. You,
Yes.
you said strongly thought. So let's
Yes.
talk about that for a minute. What was it that changed for you? What was the expectation that was different?
The expectation was that I thought I was going to be able to enlist
Okay.
and do my 1 weekend a month,
Right.
my 2 week, because I went in as a reserve. My plan wasn't to go active until after I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to do that, you need to, one, have a great support system, which I didn't have at the time. Also, you need to be realistic with yourself. Okay, I'm gonna go in and get the funds to pay for this degree, but realistically, it's as if you sign up for a job. Your job is to work for them 24/7, and you fit in what you can when you can. It didn't work that way for me.
Okay. Wow, that's
So
interesting.
when I started my training, you of course have to do the 1 weekend. If you sign up to be reserve, you do your 1 weekend a month, and then you go away for training to 2 weeks out of the year. But
Mhm.
that does not mean that you can't still be deployed, because my whole thing is I don't want to do a tour. I didn't want to be
Right.
deployed. I didn't do all that. You can still get
Even
deployed.
wait, even in the reserve, you can
Yes,
still get deployed?
yes. If they need you, if your unit is up to go, it can still happen. That actually happened to one of my brothers. He's now getting ready to get out, but he had started as a reservist, and when he thought that he didn't have to, go away and whatnot, they were like, no, you still have to do what you have to do. So he ended up just
Mhm.
going active duty. He's like, if I'm gonna feel like I'm having to, give 100% of my time, I might as well
Right.
just do it. So
Okay.
that pushes education kind of to the back burner, because it's a full-time job. You're working.
Wow.
You gotta fit in, what your goals in where you can.
So you emphasize education. Were
Mhm.
you able to complete that part of it? Was the education, because I
Yes.
know you said you came out. So tell us a little bit about the education part of it.
So when I came back, I was still young. I was 22. And if anybody knows how financial aid works, unless you are 24, you're not able to file independently. You still need parental information.
Okay. Okay.
But because I came out as a veteran,
Hmm.
they were able to override that, and I was able to go back to school, have financial aid pay for it,
Okay.
file disability from the military,
Hmm.
and pay for the rest of school. So I ended up going to school and getting my bachelor's in sociology.
Awesome. That's beautiful. So so describe for us, Stephanie, what did it feel like coming home? Like, what did it feel like when you're completely out of it? You're used to being in it, whatever portion that was. What was it like not being a part of it anymore?
You feel like a fish out of water.
Wow.
And I say that because I remember before I went in, you have a map out of what your plan is going to be, what you're going to do and everything. And mishap happens, you come out and you're like, okay, I didn't expect, like, this wasn't part of the plan. Like, failing at this level right
Mhm.
here, that wasn't part of the plan. I literally came back with just my duffel bag, no money in my pockets,
Wow.
my discharge papers. Thank God for a friend that said, hey, come stay with me. There is
Wait,
no.
wait, Stephanie. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm gonna let you finish. I gotta just ask this.
Mhm,
You with a duffel bag,
mhm,
no money and nowhere to go.
no.
Now, can you help me? But why would they say? Are they supposed to help you with housing?
So they're supposed to now, all these years later, they have all these resources set up
Okay.
for you to get assistance. That's if you have people, or you're talking to the right people to guide you to get the assistance that you need.
Wow.
Because I have veterans that came out of the service who didn't know that you can file for disability, you can file for
Mhm.
unemployment, You can file for food stamps. You can file for all these programs that you need assistance with.
Right.
Now they have all these programs, but back then it was word of mouth. As a matter of fact, my disability rating that I got when I first came out is not what I have now. The gap between that is about 6 years. And the reason why is because I didn't know that there were certain things that I can file in order to get disability, a better disability rating, so that I can now go back to school and continue for them to pay for it.
Right.
So a lot of the resources is through word of mouth, who you're talking to, if you're talking to the right person. And imagine, this is just for me who didn't even complete my contract. So imagine for those that are like 6, 10, 8 years plus in the service who really don't know.
Right. Wow. That's so interesting because now, even though your rating was different, can you still go back? Can you reapply? Can you somehow work on the rating so it can change? How does that all work?
So I did that. Let's go by numbers. I'm gonna throw percentages because that's what they rate. The disability ratings is percentages. When I came out in 2010, I spoke to someone who told me, go and file your disability. Okay, I filed in 2011, let's say. They deemed me 10% disabled. I did not get that 10% disability until 2012. Now, remember, I filed in 2011.
Wow.
So I got that 10% in 2012. Fast forward to 2016, I'm going on 10%. And there were certain programs that they just now changed now. There's a program called Voc Rehab that will pay for you to go back to school or to get any kind of training in order to get you back independent and be a part of society for you to be able to sustain yourself. Fast forward to 2016, this whole time I couldn't do Voc Rehab because it was only 10%. In order to do Voc Rehab at the time, you had to be 30%. I just happened to be talking to a veteran friend of mine, and he said, wait a minute, you went in at what age? And they messed you up? And they're not taking care of you? He said, no. Go talk to this person.
Wow.
By God's grace.
Amen.
I went from 10% to now 80%.
Wow, that's a blessing.
6 years. And talking to the right people.
Right.
To know to go do that. And when I did that, it took them 2 years for them to approve it.
So you waited so it's about 8 years?
Just
about. 6 plus 2.
Yeah.
So now what happens to veterans? This is such an interesting thing because when I think of veterans, Stephanie, I'm not thinking, I don't know all the ins and outs the way you
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you're explaining it to us. We're thinking you go, you serve our country, you come home, but they have housing for you, and to hear that you had such a struggle, how does it affect other veterans that you know? And do you have a heart to just go and just help those people with the things that you didn't have?
Oh, absolutely. Now, don't tell me you're a veteran because I'm going to tell you, listen, go to this person, go to this person, go to that person. This is what you need to do. My brother, before he even told me that he wanted to leave, when he told me he wanted to leave, before he even filed any paperwork, I said, let me tell you something now. Your sister did not get the luxury of having someone to be in my ear saying, do this. So it would behoove you to use my struggle as an example to do this. Have your ducks in a row, all your paperwork, your doctor's visits, whether it's your private doctor, the military doctors, have all of that, lined up so that when you are ready to file your paperwork, everything is right there in black and white.
Wow. And you see on the news oftentimes on Channel 12 with veterans, of course, they're a lot older, but their struggles. So how do veterans, let's start with one aspect. How do veterans even get housing? Because we know in this world, there's so many people that are homeless and people that are struggling. So how do veterans get housing? Like, how do we help them? How do we support veterans as tax-paying people who don't know anything about the veteran world? What can we do as a society to help veterans?
I wish it was a simple answer to that.
Okay.
It's really not. What I can say is if you know of any organizations, first of all, let's backtrack before we even get to
Okay.
organizations. DHS.
Mm.
There hasn't been, as far as I know, there hasn't been anything particularly put in place that says if a veteran comes home that they are not necessarily just eligible, but they are required
Mm-hmm.
to be seen and be helped in order for them not to go through, certain struggles of finding housing. I don't
Okay.
think there is anything like that. I wish there was some kind of legislation
Right.
that
Right.
said, this person, even if it's 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
30 days is it's not a lot of time. It's
Right.
especially given everything, that we dealing with now. But at least 30 days for me to be able to come home and come into a center or somewhere for me to regroup. Just give me 30 days just to breathe.
Exactly. Right. Right.
I
Exactly.
wish there was something like that. As
Yeah.
far that, if there's another veteran out there that knows better than I do, by all means, please share the information. But I wish there was something saying that by law, after this person has served their country for whatever amount of time, whatever
Mhm.
circumstance happened, when they come home, we have to make sure that they at least have 30 days to breathe and, give them case management,
Yeah.
give them help, walk them
Definitely.
through.
Definitely. And I'm so glad you said that. And I hope that somebody that's listening to you tonight that they will reach out to you or reach out to our team and we'll get in touch with you because it's so important because it's just like a woman or a man that's incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow or another we got to help or there has to be a program to help people
Absolutely.
get redeveloped into society because how do you make it? And some people that come home as veterans, there's PTSD, which I have since
Absolutely. That's what I was
learned
going to say.
that
Yeah.
PTSD is not just for veterans and military. I mean,
No,
regular people go through PTSD because PTSD
absolutely.
basically deals with trauma of some sort. So then
Absolutely.
imagine having PTSD, Stephanie, then you're trying to find housing. It has to take somebody's life. Your life almost get uprooted. You go in one way,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you come out a different way. What is
Absolutely.
about that?
But then the other thing too is, remember, the military is like a parent, especially for someone like my brother. He went in
Mhm.
at 18. Soon as he turned 18, he enlisted. He's now 26.
Wow.
So that means he has to learn how to not just manage bills on his own,
Mm-hmm.
but he needs to learn, okay, what bills do I need to have? Who do I pay? Where do I go to do this? Because the military is literally your parent.
That's a good point. That's an excellent
You
point.
don't know how to do certain things on your
Mm-hmm.
own. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what a lease looks like. You don't know what paying a light bill or anything like that. You don't have to do that because you have housing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're somebody like my brother, he signs up for every tour. He's like, I'm out because
Wow.
the money's good.
Right.
But you don't know how to actually be an adult. You don't know how to survive. You don't know how to do certain things. So not only are you dealing with PTSD for many
Mm-hmm.
different forms of PTSD, because PTSD doesn't always look like somebody just
That's right.
going off.
That's
It
right.
could be something from a sound they hear, something that they see.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in many forms.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with that. You're dealing with learning how to live, and then remember, you're now a fish out of water, so you're out of your element. So now you have to learn how to survive in this world.
Mm.
You have to learn how to maneuver, how to do certain things.
Yeah.
My brother said to me, he was like, I want to leave, but he's like, this is all I know. When I leave, where's the respect gonna come from? If I'm on the
Mhm.
job with someone else and they're irritating me or something like that, can I go to a supervisor that's going to understand, listen, there's a rank? I said, bro, there's no rank. This is real life. There's no rank.
He's not. That's right.
There's no rank.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's completely different. Your thought process is completely different.
Wow. And let's just talk about that for a second. That was first of all, it's so powerful. I love your analogy in talking about it being a parent. I've
Mm-hmm.
never heard it from that perspective before, but can I tell you are absolutely correct. It's like they're the parent, you're the child,
You're the
and
child.
you're trying to get acclimated back into something. So you're trying to learn something that you should have learned already, because numerically speaking,
Mhm.
you're of age. That has to be such a level of frustration all by itself.
Exactly. And we're
Just
talking about 20s. We're talking about 20s. I've worked with veterans that have 20, 30 plus years in the military.
mm,
And when they come out, it's like, listen, I'm 50 something years old. I'm not going in this workplace and taking orders from somebody younger than me and this and that.
right. Wow. Wow.
So,
That's yeah. And it's like, again, it's just trying to get that acclimation. It has
right.
to be hard, which is why I hope and pray, and you'll share with us, of course, if there are programs that help people get acclimated. Like, I came from being a teenage mom, and there
Mhm.
were programs. I mean, I'm 50 something years old now, but there were programs back there that helped us teen moms get
Mhm.
acclimated into a society of acceptance. And I think that's the problem, in my opinion. It's the acceptance.
Right.
When you're trying to get acclimated, everybody doesn't accept you getting acclimated. And the crazy part is into a society that you belong to.
Right.
And it's almost, to me, Stephanie, so unfair that people have to go through so much to get back into a place which they belong anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna hold your answer. We're gonna take a commercial break, because this is such a great conversation, and you're enlightening us on so much about being a veteran. But we're gonna take a commercial break. We'll be right back with Stephanie Charles. We are talking about supporting our veterans. We'll be right back. This week on Real Talk with Gene Price.
Soldiers should be allowed to talk, and pain should be allowed to be shared. Today, I want to give you some insights that might help you understand the emotional fortresses that soldiers and veterans learn to build. But you don't have to wait until you join the Army to begin to practice what we believe. We say things like, get up and stop crying before I give you something to cry about. And so the military has endless versions of this. Endless versions. Suck it up. Drink water. Drive on. There are even people, when we lose a loved one, who would tell us to pull it together so that we can be strong for somebody else. We teach soldiers to become emotionally numb. That we teach them that it's not safe to ask for help. And we've taught them to kill. They deserve to reconnect. They deserve to love again, to feel again. As civilians, we need to help them redefine the reasons for living. The charge that I'll put to you is to ask, not who did you kill, but how did you heal?
Guess who's back? That's right, it's Gene Price. It's her new fall season, and she's ready with more real conversations with real people. So make sure to tune in this Wednesday to welcome back our host, Gene Price, on Real Talk with Gene Price.
Welcome back to Real Talk. We are having an in-depth conversation with my wonderful guest, Stephanie Charles, and we're talking tonight about supporting our veterans. And so much is being said to make us more aware of what veterans go through. So, Stephanie, welcome back to Real Talk. Thank you so much again for being on our show.
Absolutely.
Before we took the commercial break, we were just talking, and I just want to say this. I was listening to the clip that we were playing, the commercial clip, And it was so three things that stuck out, and I hope we can kind of get through these three things with the minutes that we have left. But one of the things it said in the clip was emotional fortress. And I had to look that up. A fortress is a stronghold.
Mhm.
And did you find that not even just for yourself, because you don't have to make it personal, but even for others that you know, was there an emotional fortress or stronghold on veterans that you know of?
Oh, absolutely. Some that are out and still have the notion of I'm supposed to be this tough person or whatnot. As a matter of fact, I had a drill sergeant say to me, "Soldier, pack those tears away. We don't cry here." I was crying because on a Sunday when we finally had time to call home, when I called, nobody was answering the phone.
Oh boy.
Of course, you're human. You have emotions. She told me flat out, pack those tears away.
But what do you do with those tears if you pack them away and you stifle them down? Where do they go? Where does all this emotion supposed to go?
You hold them in, and if you speak to any other veteran like myself, they'll tell you we go to the gun range and let it out. That's that's
Wow.
it's all put towards your frustration somewhere, and your thought
Mm,
process is I just got to keep moving. I don't have time
right,
for this.
right,
Like, I
right.
have lives depending on me.
Mhm.
My unit
Okay,
is depending on me. You got to keep pushing.
right.
There's no room for emotion there.
Wow. So saying that, another thing that was said in the clip that stuck out with me, it's the narrator said, who did you kill, but how did you heal? Because when I heard that and I'm watching the clip, I'm going, that is so powerful. Because it's not about just who did you kill, but how do you heal? Again, how do you heal mentally, emotionally from what veterans go through? And I hope I don't sound like I'm repeating, but it really is intriguing me here. Like how I have had my own trauma in my life with the help of God. God has helped me get through it. How in the world do people heal?
That is a loaded and
Mhm.
sometimes unanswered question.
That was good. That's
That's
good.
all I can say about that. That particular question, that's all I can say about that.
Wow.
Um, I just want people to know that not just veterans, but also spouses and family members, I want them to know that there is help available. It doesn't always have to be through the VA,
Mhm.
but talk to someone. Do not keep it bottled inside,
Mm,
because there are things that we see, there are things that we go through that you can't really describe. Talk to someone.
someone. Yeah. It's
Don't
true.
hold it in. Talk to
It's so
someone.
true. That is powerful. And another thing it said in the clip, you have to redefine a reason for living. And when I heard
Absolutely.
that, Stephanie, the word that came to my mind was hopelessness. How do we help veterans? How do we work in this society for them to find hope again?
Veterans have to be some of the most prideful people walking on this earth,
Oh, okay.
because even though we know that there is help available sometimes, the little that there may be out there, we'll say leave it for somebody who really needs it.
Mm,
I had so many veterans, and I myself was like that at some point, which is why it probably took me 6 years to finally get what I deserve.
mhm,
Is because I said, one, leave it for somebody else who might be, worse off than me.
mhm,
Two, I don't want to have to fight to go through all this. They make you jump through
mm.
hoops to get you, the help that you need.
Mhm.
And then the other thing too is, will somebody understand me or will they judge me?
You just said a mouthful. That right there alone was a mouthful. Will they understand you or will they judge you?
Hmm.
And then based on that, when that pride sets in, that's what causes them not to come forth. That's
Absolutely.
powerful. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
Wow. Because and it's so unfair that people risk their lives, like I said a little earlier, for our country, for a good reason. And then we begin to judge them based on the outcome. That
Yeah.
is so unfair to judge people based on an outcome. How now, with all that you do now and all that you know, how can we and you, how do we advocate now? You have a lot more knowledge, a lot more understanding, a lot more sympathy and empathy. How do we advocate? What can we do and how do we advocate for veterans?
What I will say to that is there's some organizations out there, some nonprofit organizations that their entire mission, their purpose is to help veterans get reacclimated into this life. I worked for Easter Seals.
Okay.
Working with them, I partnered with Black Vets for Social Justice. There is also oh gosh, I can't think of it at the top of my head right now.
Mhm.
But there are not a lot of nonprofit organizations deemed specifically for helping veterans get reacclimated. I
Okay.
wish that it was city agencies really that were deemed for that,
Okay.
because nonprofit organizations sometimes have to jump through hoops too to get the veterans assistance,
Mhm.
only because the city, we know when certain resources, you have to have the eligibility for it. You got to
Yes.
meet this criteria.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
got to do this. When I was looking for housing, city agencies, I couldn't find any help there. As a matter of fact, one of the organizations that I went to help me get housing, this is where the judgment piece comes in.
Okay.
The lady said to me, to my case manager, she said she doesn't look like somebody who's been chronically homeless.
Really?
Now, in looking for housing, homelessness could look a lot of different ways. It's
Mhm.
not just sleeping on the street.
Mhm.
You can be sleeping on a friend's couch.
Yes.
You can be riding the train all night.
Mhm.
You can be going to different shelters trying to get a bed every night, or just simply trying to stay at a job all hours so that you don't have to worry about where you're going to sleep or whatnot. So
Mhm.
homelessness looks different for everyone. Or
Right.
sleeping in your car, it
Right.
looks different for everyone. So the city's guideline of what chronically homeless looks like is not a realistic picture
Right.
majority of
Absolutely.
the time. So when these nonprofit organizations are trying to work and get housing for these veterans, there's so many loopholes that they have to try and jump through.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of times a lot of veterans get discouraged or don't even want to go seek the help because they have to deal with this.
Got it.
But
Got it.
I always tell veterans, I said, listen, consider this another duty station. Consider it as another assignment. These
Mhm.
are your orders. This is what you have to do. I would literally make a list for veterans. This is where you go to get food if you're hungry. This is where you go to get clothes if you have an interview. This is where you get mock interviews if you need prep for your interviews. This is
Right.
the case manager that you see if you need housing. This is who you go to if you need some kind of assistance, a Metro card or something. There were different, it was like a team there. If you find the right people who are in
Mhm.
these organizations that are willing to help and not just there to make a number, a quota,
Right. Mhm.
you will get those veterans that are actually going to see the process through and stick with it in order for them to get help.
Got it. So let me ask you this, Stephanie. Have you seen, in your experience, of course, a transformation of success
Yes.
from a vet? Can you just kind of share, just for just a little bit? I want to hear about the success story of somebody being transformed,
I have some
other than
vets
yourself. Other than yourself.
to God be the glory.
Right? I receive it. Amen.
There are some veterans that I still stay in contact with.
Mhm.
Even though I don't work in that, in that field anymore, but we've been able to be good friends. I have one that works with Social Security Department now.
Wow.
Another one who was working for a company called Rematronics, and now he's working with Con Edison, has housing, has his own business now and everything. There's a lot of veterans. There's some that came into our center to get something temporary, and they
Mhm.
ended up using that temporary situation to make it, to help them get to something else. So
Wow.
there's a lot of success stories, not just
Good.
with employment, but with housing, personalities,
Mhm.
because there's some that say, they'll tell me, Miss Charles, listen, I was, I was a sergeant. I'm not about to sit here and take, orders from people that are younger than me. I said, listen, go and get your vendor's license, get your own business. So sometimes I
Right.
wouldn't even give them temporary employment. I would push business to them.
Right.
I
Understood.
want
Right.
you to use yourself as a vessel and whatever you're going through right now in order to sustain yourself, not just for
Mhm.
now, but to be able to help someone going forward, pay it forward.
Right.
The people that the few people that whispered in my ear to go and get the help that I need to, to get to this
Mhm.
level where I'm at in life, my
Mhm.
thing has always been pay it forward.
That's it.
Pay it forward.
Wow, that's phenomenal. What do you as far as what do you do now? Like where are you at in your life? As far as being you're still a veteran, so where are you? Where's Stephanie Charles now?
I am now pursuing acting full time.
Okay,
I'm now
that's
pursuing
exciting.
acting full time. However, right now I do work as a flight attendant.
That's awesome.
So I'm trying to. This is where faith is going to kick in. We're going to have to up
Mhm.
the mustard seed faith.
Yes.
So I'm trying to leave the airline so that I can solely focus on acting full time.
But and that is all. Now, how did you become an airline stewardess? I have to just know for myself. How did you become an airline stewardess?
So I signed up with a regional company. So there's two. There's regional and there's mainline. So Delta, United, American, those are like mainline, like legacy
Okay.
airlines.
Mhm.
And then the Delta Connection, which is the company that I work for, it's the smaller
Mhm.
planes that fly for the major carriers.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I just applied as if, a regular job. I went, it literally, when you think pageant,
Mm-hmm.
that's literally, that's literally what it was. And
Really?
yes, because they want you, you got to smile, you got to be friendly.
Yes, yes.
I had to literally reprogram my brain because I was working in such a completely different field.
Yeah,
That,
I'm
okay,
seeing that.
Stephanie, it's okay for you to smile now.
Right, exactly. You don't have to be
don't have to be
serious
so
right now.
hardcore and serious
Yes,
all the time. Like you can have fun now.
exactly.
Yeah. So it took a little, transforming for me to get there.
Wow. Well,
But I'm
Stephanie,
having fun.
that's awesome. That's wow. You have to love flying to be an airline steward. That's always been that's been always
Well, believe it or not, flying was not my thing.
really.
I don't like heights. I do not like roller coasters, but
Mhm.
I like to travel.
Okay.
And I said, okay, if I'm in the air and I'm doing something, I'm not so
Mhm.
focused on how high I am up in the air.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
if I'm talking to people, I'm serving drinks, I'm, having fun with it,
Beautiful.
then okay, it's different.
I understand.
Yeah.
Stephanie, we just have a few, like literally a few minutes. This has been such a great conversation. I am so grateful to have met you and be able to talk about this. If you had something to say to a veteran that's listening to Stephanie Charles, um, that a transformation has happened in your own life, your success story, that's really the bottom line. What would you say to them right now?
You're going to be okay. It's going to get better. Don't hold your emotions inside. Your emotions matter.
Yeah.
Speak to someone. Even if you don't want to tell everybody your business or whoever, get someone to help you figure it out. And you don't have to figure it all out overnight. It's a process. This
Mhm.
does not happen overnight. It can take months, years. Just get the help because it's out there. Have patience with yourself.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Give yourself grace
Mm.
and find joy in the journey because it's going to get better. I promise you, it's going to get better.
Wow. That was beautiful. I like that. I like what you said. Find joy in the journey.
Absolutely.
That was powerful because oftentimes in life, as you know yourself, sometimes we miss that. It's
Yeah.
all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because based on a perspective, you might not see the joy in it. You can only see the pain in it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I definitely agree with what you said. And thank you for that. Find joy in the journey. Stephanie, you have been a blessing. Just being able to come on. And to my viewing audience, we salute Stephanie today and all
Thank
the
you.
veterans. We celebrate your success. your
Thank you.
success within yourself
Thank
and
you.
being able to overcome. And I think that is just such a beautiful attribute to what inward success looks like.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you again for being on Real Talk. We invite you to come back again. You have to keep me abreast.
I
Because I'm
will.
one of those people that I need to know what's going on with Stephanie. I need to play this show back and let me get an update on what is Stephanie
Absolutely.
doing.
We'll stay in touch. We'll definitely stay in
We have to
touch.
be in touch. I gotta just know what you're doing. And again, as somebody that's in society, what can we do to help veterans? And that's a good takeaway tonight for those that are listening. There's joy in your journey. And to
Absolutely.
those that have served this country, we want you to know how much we appreciate what you have done. We appreciate your journey, and there will be joy after this. Stephanie Charles, thank you so much for
Thank
being on
you
Real
for
Talk
having
with
me.
Jean Price. Now, listen, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can do a watch party. Just go back and watch this show. It was so enlightening to me, so informative. And don't forget, we do Jean's favorite things. You don't want to miss this holiday season because they know I hold no expenses. I love being a blessing to somebody else. We will see you next time on Real Talk with Jean Price. Good night.